Okay, we might as well get started. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I know everybody's got busy schedules and it's getting close to Christmas, so everybody's got shopping and things to do before the big day comes. But again, I want to thank you on behalf of Mayor and Council. With that, I want to introduce our Council, Councillor Ron Matichuk, Councillor Judy Clada, Councillor Blake Ellis, Councillor Penny Byer, Councillor Colleen Smook, Councillor Deputy Mayor Kathy Valentino, Councillor Dennis Foley, and Councillor Duncan Wong. New Year's there somebody. And then from staff, we have Gary Sepatelli, our CAO, Jen Krentz, our Chief Financial Officer, Deputy Chief Rick Morris, and who else was there? That's it? Okay. So this is a pre-budget consultation, a little different than we've done in the past. What we want to do is sort of lay out what's happened in the 16 budget to give you some comparisons. Then we'll go through the slideshow, and what we're doing, council currently and administration, is in budget deliberations just at the beginning of it. And so we want input from the general public as well in regards to the overall budget, both operating and capital and utility. And we've got a couple of ways of doing that. One is this meeting tonight, just to give you an overview. All of this information will be online, thompson.ca. All the previous budgets and statements and presentations are online, thompson.ca, under the Finance Department. We'll also, at the end, we'll talk about a survey, both a hard copy and online. The hard copy, we have hard copies at the back of the room, and you're more than welcome to take them, fill them out. You can drop them off either at the VRCC information desk there or at City Hall, the front desk. The survey itself will be online before Christmas. It's not online yet, but it will be online before Christmas. And the deadline for submissions is January 10th for the surveys to come back to us. We'll use those tools to help us go through the various budget areas to see where the ratepayers feel are the priorities within the budget. So we'll start with the revenues. The highlights: the financial plan must include a balanced budget. Okay, under the Municipal Act, municipalities cannot put forth an unbalanced budget. It has to be balanced. 2017 is not an assessment year. 2016 was. 2018 will be. So 2017 is not an assessment year, so you won't see another fluctuation in property and business values. Fees and fines increased by 1.5%, was passed by Council on November 28, 2016, consistent with the 2016 tax increase. The background on that is that the fee and fine schedule for those fees and fines that are status quo, that means we go back to last year's tax rate increase, which was 1.5%. We apply that to the status quo. Administration goes through others. The remaining of the fees, they recommend either to decrease them because they're above the market, or increase them because they're not at market. And so the 1.5 is based on the status quo. There are fees within the fee and fine schedule, and it's online, that have gone up percentages and have gone down percentages. But the status quo application is 1.5%, which was last year's tax increase. $500,000 of the $3 million valet grant in lieu infrastructure funding is included in the capital revenues. The Council has allocated this funding at $600,000 per year for capital projects over the 5-year grant in lieu. 2017 is the final year of the current grant in lieu agreement with valet. Normally a 5-year agreement runs from 2012 to 2017. It will expire. The city will name a committee. The school district names a committee, the province names an LGD rep. That's our side, and they negotiate with the valet side in regards to the team there. And at the end of the day, we come up with an agreement moving forward for 2018 and beyond. So we have a total revenue of around $30 million from the City of Thompson for the City of Thompson. The largest chunk, 34%, is in tax levies. The next largest is the grant in lieu, which is 19%. The next largest is 15% provincial, federal, and grants, such as the gas tax, transfer, things like that. Another sale of goods is 15%. Transfers is 13%, license and permits and fines 1%, rentals 1%, taxes added 1%, penalties 1%, return on investment is less than 1%. We all know what our RSPs are doing. We're doing the same in our investments. So basically $30 million to operate the city of Thompson. In the grants, specifically in the 16% of revenues, we have a per capita grant, $2,119,105. This is based on 13,123 residents. And so the importance of the census that we just went through in 2016, and it will come out in February 8th of 2017, and our hope is that it's 3,123 or higher, because every one that goes down, it affects that dollar amount. General support grant, $225,823. The VLT grant, $196,000. Firefighter grant, the province provides funding for 4 firefighter paramedics through a program that's in place, $328,600. Community safety officer, $15,000. That's not the provincial grant. That's from liquor and lotteries. Cultural grant, $9,200. That's the community places, cultural grant through the, I don't know what name of the department is now. When I was there, it was Culture and Heritage. Transit operating, $158,656. Transit debenture payment, $87,434. The CSO grant, that's the one from the province, $300,000. The ambulance grant, $198,749. Total operating side of grants, $3,638,567. And on the capital side, the gas tax is $670,000. Municipal road grant is $400,000 for $1,075,059. Amounts based on the census numbers equals to about $228 per person. So every person that is less than 128, you're losing $228. Sale of goods and services. They include the ambulance revenue of $2.2 million, garbage pickup, landfill fees, custom work, transit, recreation revenues, the Norplex pool, VRCC, including arenas, fitness area, and outside rentals. That's 15% of our revenue. Transfers accounts for the transfer from reserves to fund capital projects subject to parameters set by council. We have a gas tax reserve, equipment reserve, public safety reserve, infrastructure reserve, and a building reserve. And that funds economic development. An election, we put money away each year for an election, even though there's not an election every year, so that when it is an election year, it's not a big hit. So we average it over the 4-year cycle of elections. Affordable housing initiatives, proposed landfill reserves, and the accommodation tax, which generates approximately $500,000 annually. That's the 5% that's on the room tax. In all the rooms, I believe over 30, I'm not sure the price per room, but there's a minimum that meets that standard. Licenses, permits, and fines, 2%. That includes $45,000 in business license, approximately 250 licenses annually, $12,500 in animal license, $225,000 in building inspections, including plumbing, $125,000 in bylaw and traffic fines. Other small licenses and taxi transfers are included here. The rentals that we charge out, the rental mainly includes the RCMP rentals. This is the Public Safety Building. There's a 25-year lease on that building with Public Safety Canada. RCMP rental revenue from rural RCMP for their proportionate share of the Public Safety Building costs. Rural RCMP also pay a proportionate share of the debenture for the RCMP building, which is the Public Safety Building. Taxes added and penalties. Taxes added for $200,000 results from changes in assessments during the year. Buildings completed or updated generates around $200,000. Penalties, $200,000 monthly amount of 1.25% on outstanding property taxes. 2016 property taxes. This is just a slide to show that when you get your property tax in July, August, which is due September 30th, there's certain components to it. Our component is the municipal side, and it raises $10,073. The school district side of it raises $8,700,000. Education support levy, the business tax, and the special levy. I'll get into those in a couple more slides. Basically, your property tax is broken into those sections So the City of Thompson, although we distribute the bills, we don't produce 100% of the cost within the bill. Accommodation tax. The city budgeted $500,000 in revenue from the hotel accommodation tax. The hotel accommodation tax bylaw allocates revenue in the following manner: 60% to the infrastructure reserve, 20% to public safety reserve, 20% to affordable housing reserve, and the allocation is currently under review. So this bylaw was set when we first got it passed in 2008 or 9, and this is the formula. It's approved by the province of Manitoba. And so any changes to that formula, we have to go back to the province with a bylaw change. And as is mentioned in the last bullet, the allocation is currently under review with council and also with those that produce the accommodation tax. On the expense side of things, where are expenses incurred? Well, 33% of our expenses in protective services. Fiscal services are 21%, transportation services 13%, recreation and cultural services 12%, transfer from reserves 8%, general government 7%, environmental health services 4%, economic development services 1%, public health and welfare services 1%, and environmental development services less than 1%. Total expenses, same as the revenues, $30,414,312. Has to be balanced. So when you look at the categories, 49% of our costs are salaries and benefits. This is typical to a municipality. RCMP contract, 18%. We have the largest RCMP contract of the 22 contracts in Manitoba. We have the largest with 38 officers. Debenture, 8%. Outside agencies, 4%. Hydro-propane water, 4%. Goods and materials, 4%. Repairs and maintenance, 3%. Waste disposal, 2%. Services from other, 1%. Insurance, 1%. Rentals, 1%. City equipment distribution, 1%. Legislative costs, 1%. Allowance for doubtful receipts, 1%. Training and travel is 1%, and others 2%. So again, the biggest costs in our operating budget are two areas, basically: salaries and benefits and our RCMP contract. Year over year, the pink colors are the operating budgets. The top colors in the lightly shaded areas, that's the capital budget. So combined, you get to the $30 million. You can see that the increases year over year from 2011 to 2016 over the 5 years, it's roughly increased around $3 million on the operating side, and it's fluctuated because we did the VRCC, and it sort of balanced out then when we got into the utilities and the road works and the water main renewals. Debentures, this is the amount that we have based on the provincial act, the municipal act. There are rules that govern how much debt we can take on as a city, and it's based on a percentage of your operating budget, which basically allows, based on our operating budget, we have a borrowing limit of $33,600,000. Principal of $9,269.24 outstanding on existing debentures at the end of 2016, excluding utility debentures. Total payment in the 2017 budget will be $1,723,988, and it's split between principal and interest, no different than the mortgage you have. Principal payment $1.2 million and interest just under $500,000. Controlled entities. These are legal entities that we fund on an annual basis. They include the Thompson Housing Agency, and it's 2 years, shows the funds that we've allocated. So the Thompson Housing Agency in 16 received $50,000. Thompson Public Library is receiving $245,000. Thompson Zoological Society, $85,000. Thompson Community and Development Corp, TU, was $50,000. Thompson Recycling Center, $240,000. And the asterisk to utilize prior year surpluses. Since that decision in the 2016 budget, we all know that TU, Thompson Unlimited, is wound down, and that the City of Thompson is going to be taking over the economic development stream in regards to hiring an economic development officer and taking charge of those responsibilities within that mandate. The community groups that we contribute to in 2016, we include the following groups: the museum, $60,000, the homeless shelter, $25,000, the curling club, which is their insurance, $9,000, Yarn Youth at Risk at $15,000, and the Humane Society at $31,126. And the Humane Society, that's a fee for service. That's a partnership we have for the Humane Society, working in control with our animal control officer and department to house animals that are picked up and to assist in issuing licenses. So we have a fee for service with the Humane Society. Capital funding. We're unique in our community as compared to other communities in Manitoba in that zero property tax dollars have been required for the purchase of capital for the 4th consecutive year. That means that all the tax bill you get in September for your property taxes, 100% of the municipal portion of that goes to our operating budget, not the capital budget. The capital budget is funded by other ways, such as the gas tax provided by the federal government. A new debenture is included in the financial plan for the Norplex pool. This will still leave sufficient room to meet the wastewater treatment plant requirements of $12,127,000. Valley Grant in lieu agreement includes an infrastructure component. We're in the 5th and final year of that, as I mentioned earlier, in our source of revenues. So that will be part of the negotiations moving forward for a grant in lieu beyond 2017, so it will be 2018 and beyond. Sources of capital funding. Again, the largest couple portions are the gas tax, which is federal, at 20%, the Valley Infrastructure Grant at 19%, Infrastructure Reserve 16%, grants 13%, debenture borrowing 12%, Equipment Reserve 9%, Building Reserve 5%, Public Safety Reserve 3%, other reserves 1%, and trusts 1%. That's how we fund capital, as opposed to property taxes, which fund operating. The utility, the rate application for 2017 to 19 has been submitted to the PUB. The 2017 rates are not changed from 2016 and have not been approved by the PUB to date. 2016 water rates are set at $1.45 per cubic meter, and sewer rates are set at $1.64 per cubic meter. The 2016 flat fee is $121.06, and that includes 14 cubic meters of water. Before you start to get charged for consumption, you receive 14 cubic meters of water. The special levies, 2016 financial plan includes revenue from a special levy for water, storm, and sewer service line maintenance. 2016 amount of $379,000, estimated at $117.07 per residence. 2015 amount per residence was $88. That's basically the insurance premium that we pay as homeowners for residential only for breaks beyond a meter from your house to the main is our responsibility as the City of Thompson, and we pay for that repair. If it's within a meter or in your house, in your foundation, that's on you as a homeowner. But as opposed to individually having to pay for a water break at your yard that's beyond a meter, which traditionally would cost anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000, depending on the severity of it. This is an insurance premium that the previous council approved, and this council also improved. So for $117, if you get a water break on your property beyond a meter from your building, it's cost you $117 to fix that. The city pays for the rest because we've all, as a group, contributed $117 to the fund to pay for that. Bylaw 1937-2016 was passed by Council on April 11th for the years 2016 to 2020. So that's the rate set for that time frame. What does this mean? Basically, if you own a home with an average assessment of $200,000, you'll be paying the following taxes. That's the average assessment, not market value. There's a difference. Assessment is what the province assessors come in and assess your property. Assessed at $200,000. The City Thompson portion of that tax bill is $1,888. The school district portion of that is $1,668. The total before the education tax credit is $3,556. If you qualify for the education tax credit, which is $700, total taxes payable on that house assessed at $200,000 is $2,856. That's for 2016. Okay. So just go back to that 1,888 number. What does that mean? Well, here's a breakdown of what that 1,888 gets you as a ratepayer in the various areas. So of that 1,888, $213 goes to general government services. $707 goes to protective services. $375 goes to transportation services. $75 goes to environmental health services. $25 goes to public health and welfare. $1 goes to environmental development. Economic development receives $13. Recreation receives $314. And debenture payments or debt payment receives $165. So what does that get you? In the general government area, that $213 buys you council and council expenditures, administrative functions such as the city manager, finance, HR, IT, purchasing and legal fees, insurance on all city buildings, assessment services. The province does the assessment, they send us a bill for that service. Election costs, as I mentioned, we charge for elections over, even in a non-election year, so that in an election year it's not a lump sum large payment, which could be $30,000 to $40,000 for our share. So we average it over 4 years. It's in the general, so that's what $213 of your tax bill buys. For $707, remember we have the largest RCMP contract of the 22 contracts that are in Manitoba. $507 for RCMP, which includes 38 members plus support staff. $97 for fire and ambulance services, which operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and includes 24 fire medics, as well as 5 emergency medical dispatchers, 2 deputies, and the chief. And our service, unlike other services, is a dual service. We offer fire paramedic. Same person is a fire paramedic. In Winnipeg, they have fire and they have paramedics. 103 for community safety officers, bylaw officers, animal control, and building inspectors out of that 707. In transportation services, for the amount of $375, you get snow removal on the streets and sidewalks, repair of the streets, paving and patching, operationally, not capital, street cleaning, sidewalk and curb repairs, street lighting, transit buses, and a handy van. Environmental health services for the annual amount of $75. You're paying for garbage collection, recycling program, spring cleanup program, removal of waste in community garbage and recycling cans. For $25 in public health and welfare, cemetery care and maintenance, social assistance payment to the province of Manitoba, which is $161,000 annually, which at the recent AMM conference, the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, we were supported in our resolution to lobby the province of Manitoba to make sure that that comes out of provincial coffers and not the city of Thompson or the municipalities' coffers. So the AMM passed that resolution. They will lobby on our behalf to move that $161,000 payment from us to the province of Manitoba because they run the program. Economic development services for $13, we're paying for planning and development department, which deals with all planning and development issues within the city of Thompson and the Thompson Planning District. Recreation and cultural services for an annual amount of $314, you're paying for the VRCC, CA Nesbitt Arena, Gordon Beard Arena, Bill Kamaski Wellness Center, walking track, the Norplex Pool, 3 outdoor rinks, 2 wading pools and a splash park, tennis courts, skate park, all area parks and dog park, the ball diamonds, the soccer fields, the Millennium Trail brushing program, museum contribution, Thompson Public Library, Thompson Zoological Society, which is the Boreal Discovery Center. And then debentures of debt payment, $165. You're paying for the debt previously implemented by the city. We have a debenture to pay for the VRCC phases, park projects such as the skate park, Cliff Park, and McLean Park, the RCMP building, which is a public safety building, UCN Drive, which was our portion of the, part of our portion of the contribution to this facility, and a fire truck. The survey, I talked briefly at the beginning, and basically the City of Thompson created a budget survey for taxpayers in the City of Thompson to identify their priorities. You'll see on the survey that there's 5 areas within each category. There's five answers. One being not important, somewhat important, important, Somewhat important, very important. Okay, so it ranges from top to bottom, and we're asking everybody to rate each one of those areas by those 5 categories. The survey is available in paper format at City Hall and the VRCC at the back of the room tonight if you want to take it home. Once completed, the survey can be returned at either location or mailed to the address on the survey. The online version will be available later this week, and taxpayers have until January 10th to complete the survey. Alternate formats are available on request. You want to Jen, help me out on that one. Accessibility, if someone wants so if, for instance, if somebody is seeing impaired, they can have someone do it for them. So things like that. Whatever way we can get the information, we'll make it available to make sure that all ratepayers have an equal opportunity to contribute to the survey. So that's a brief overview. Basically, again, from the process, it's a little change up. Normally, we would have this meeting at the end of the process where we would present the 2017 budget. We're in deliberations as council and administration. We want to hear from the general public where the priorities are, based on the survey, based from comments back to council and administration. So we're asking people to look at the various areas that we talked about, that in regards to operations, the expenses. This is where we incur our expenses, $30,414,000. There are questions that relate to these areas and in regards to importance. There's questions in regards to the accommodation tax. There's questions this is just general information. Again, a reminder that the survey is about municipal tax. It's not about the school district tax or the provincial taxes. It's about the municipal taxes. So again, the areas that are looked at are by costs, which are 30 million and change. Again, that's a combined amount. You can see the $3 million range over the last 5 years in regards to the increase in operations. Just on that, we have just recently signed a 4-year deal with our municipal employees that are unionized. It used to be 8223 and local 7911. They've now combined 7911 into 8223 in 2 separate parts. There's a 8223-something and a 8223-another. So basically it covers our inside workers and our outside workers. So we recently agreed and passed at council the 4-year deal. The first time it's been a 4-year deal. It's normally 3. And the increases are 1.25% in the first 3 years, each year 1, 2, and 3, and in the last year 1.5%. All years under inflation, under the rate of inflation. And that takes us from March of 2016 to March of 2020, correct? Again, the controlled entities, just if you're wondering, again, these are the controlled entities that we fund and the amounts. And again, this presentation will be online, so when you go home you can review it and compare it with the survey as you go through the survey. You can bring that up if you have a computer at home. The community groups also that we fund, again, these are the museum, the homeless shelter, the curling club, youth at risk, and Humane Society. And then again, understanding that capital is separate from our operating tax bill that you get each September. This is the breakdown. The utility is part of the water bill that we receive every quarter. And basically, the special levy we talked about in regards to lawn repairs for residential properties only. And we went through the breakdown of the 1,888 based on a $200,000 home. And these are 2016 numbers. So again, I'll just close with saying that we're working towards the 2017 budget. Timeline is that we legally have to have our budget submitted to the province of Manitoba by May 15th of 2017. We most likely will be done by mid-February or so. And so that's why we need the input back on the surveys by January 10th, so we can review the information and help us make the final decisions in regards to the final budget that we will, again, following past practices, have a public meeting like this and say, this is the 2017 budget we're proposing. We'll go through the same slides with the 2017 numbers, the sources of revenues, the sources of expenditures, the increases, the decreases, and then we'll submit to the province of Manitoba. So with that, I would again remind everybody in regards to the survey, we really want you to fill that out, get the word out. I'll be talking about it on the radio on Thursday, and it will be on online, thompson.ca, reminding people that the deadline is January 10th, and that copies are available here tonight. They'll be available at that desk at VRCC. They'll be available at City Hall, and they'll be available online by the end of the week. With that, I'll go to council. Anything to add at this point? Gary, anything to? Floor is open for any questions or comments or clarifications. Any thoughts? Don't be shy. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I have about 4 questions about this new one this time.
Absolutely.
I don't want to dominate the conversation.
No, go ahead.
BLT revenue.
Yes.
I know there's been a lot of, I know council's been trying to push the province to make a fair share of those revenues, especially since Steinbach gets a cut of those BLT revenues that you don't have the machine. So is there any better progress on that, or is it
We have raised it with Minister of Finance. We have raised it with Minister Cullen as well in our ministers' meetings, both up here when they've been up here and at AMM. So we hosted the City Caucus, which is part of AMM, Association of Manitoba Municipalities, the largest cities, or the cities in the province of Manitoba. We hosted the mayors and councillors and CAOs here in Thompson in September. And out of that meeting came a consensus that we should also look at hub funding, which means basically, and re-looking at the whole allocation of municipal funding from the province, VLT included. And so we're also lobbying for hub funding. Thompson is a hub, Brandon is a hub, Dauphin is a hub, and so we're impacted by the region on our ratepayers. And so we're looking for trying to change the formula, which rates now is a base $5,000 grant plus per capita, and which would also include the revenue from VLTs. So we are lobbying, and the AMM is lobbying on our behalf in that same thing. Anybody else? Second question? Go ahead with the second one, Dave.
okay? I know it wasn't like, tell you a separate topic, but the wastewater treatment plant rate,
Yeah.
the ones that you just proposed here not too long ago,
Yeah.
does that apply to new builds, like new build commercial? Will that apply in the future?
I guess it's the timing of that. So we need $12,127,000 to borrow to book that debenture. So something that happens between now and when we book that debenture would apply. After that debenture is booked, it wouldn't apply. So basically, it's a timing thing. We need basically to have our funding in place prior to build. So we can't bank on future growth or future properties, but they will pay through development agreements the cost of development plus the installation of water meters. They will pay just like everybody else beyond that. The capital portion is just a matter of timing.
Yeah, I understood that.
Yep. Yep. Anybody else before we go back there? Jump in, guys. Chewy, yeah, go ahead.
For your corporate tax, there is a biggest revenue, which is about 20, which is 24%.
We're talking revenues?
Yeah, for your revenue.
Okay, here's the revenues.
Yeah.
We have 34% tax levies, 19% is the grant in lieu, 15% provincial federal tax.
Okay. So your property tax, the revenue coming, is it enough to cover the wages for the employee?
At this point it is, yes.
It is
Yeah,
enough?
yeah,
Okay. You have projected the 19% for your grant review.
yes.
Okay. Is that a fixed 19% coming in every year or just?
This is the last year of the 5-year agreement so for 2017 coming up, right? we have one more payment of the grant in lieu based on the 5-year agreement we have in place. That's guaranteed money. So beyond that, 2018 and beyond, we don't have any GIL guaranteed money. Okay, so we have to negotiate that between now and hopefully the summer to get a 5-year deal beyond 2018 and beyond. Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to, just in regards to the Valley Grant, they give 3 parties $6 million. The City of Thompson, which gets 72% of that $6 million, so we get about $4.2 million. The school district of Mystery Lake gets approximately 28%, so they get the other 1.8, and the LGD of Mystery Lake gets about $50,000. So primarily it's the city and the school, we get 4.2 out of the $6 million. That 4.2 equates to that 19%.
Okay, and on the capital side, we get $3 million. Nobody else gets that. School district doesn't get it, LGD doesn't get it. We get $3 million over 5 years. Dave, third question.
Okay.
Keith, sorry, Keith.
Accommodation tax, I just wanted to ask something about that too.
Yep.
I understand that the province did dictate the percentages back to the municipalities at the time. Do you not have the ability to change that, but as an amendment to your own municipality agreement, then you present that to the province for approval? Is that how it works?
I think from our perspective, from the city's perspective, we proposed the 5%. In Brandon, it's 3%, but I'll ask Gary.
So initially, when the City of Thompson put forth the municipal revenue bylaw, it was based on 4 taxes. One was the accommodation tax, one was a land transfer tax, one was an alcohol tax, and one was a food and beverage tax. Each one of those components was identified as 2%, had gone to the province, because obviously it's in legislation, the province needs to approve it. The province basically said the other 3 were off the table, the alcohol, land transfer, and food and beverage. They indicated that since we had 2% on our accommodation tax, they were willing to allow us to increase that to 5% since the city of Winnipeg had already had 5%. So we came back, amended the bylaw from the 2% to 5% for the accommodation tax, and that was passed.
Yeah, that's, I understood you guys didn't ask a question like, but the actual percentages you're on spending was dictated by the province.
No, what it's been spent on is really the municipality had identified where they wanted to place the revenue.
General part of the world, the province, I guess.
Right, but the province has, at the end of the day is that if we have to change our accommodation tax bylaw, we'll have to send it to the province and they'll have to approve it by order in council.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else? Keith, another question? Oh, no question. No, go ahead. No. Go ahead.
Is it about land development around Thompson? Is there anything happening with 5 acre parcels or anything further?
Yeah. So just on that, we have a couple things to talk about. One is within city limits, we have been approached by a group requesting large acre lots, 5, 10, 30, various size lots. It is in Matt Piscario's development group and the Development Review Committee to look at, because we were hearing that that's what people want from a quality of life perspective, is they want larger lots. What happens is, and it's unique to Thompson that I know of, is that those that come from southern Manitoba or other areas who have been able to own acreages, we don't have acreages here, and so we're looking at that niche and trying to work with those. There will be a meeting called for interested people that want to look at large acre lots within city limits to flush out how do we make that work. We want to make it work. We want to make that available to people so that we can make it enticing to stay in the north. But we need to hear from the people that want it as to how they want it, what's their thoughts in regards to water and sewer, septic fields, and all that type of stuff. But we're certainly open to large acre lots. We just need to move that along.
Do you have a set time frame for that?
I would say this year, within 2016, 2017, we want to plan to moving forward, definitely. The second part of that, outside of the City of Thompson, we are through the Thompson 2020 project, dealing with the mitigation of the closure of the smelter and refinery. In looking at the 3 buckets of work that have been identified and talked about in public, is the retention of the employees affected in Second part is the retaining the retirees, whether it be Valley or other retirees in our community. And the third is growing businesses, either existing or new. In the second bucket in regards to retirees and quality of life, we've heard from numerous people that one of the things that would keep them in the north is if they could have cottage lots on Paint Lake, more cottage lots. So we've contacted the province of Manitoba. Again, it's in Matt Buscario's department, working with the province of Manitoba to look at cottage development at the north end and south end of Paint Lake to open up more lots so that people that want to build can stay in the north and have a lakefront or lake property.
Yeah, just sort of the added twist to sort of the discussions is really the legal boundaries of the city of Thompson and sort of the understanding as to where they are. Really that anything south of Seal Road is outside the city of Thompson boundaries. North of the river, the city of Thompson boundaries really, if you imagine on the west side, the horse stables are outside city boundaries to the river and a line directly to the golf course. That's city of Thompson. Everything outside those areas are the LGD Mystery Lake, which is a different entity, which we'd obviously have to get into discussions with them as well as part of that whole conversation for some of those large lots in around the city of Thompson.
We're looking for a year to get things in a meeting and get that part.
Well, the meeting will happen sooner than that, but I think to get some I guess, movement from the province and from our perspective, it would probably take at least 6 months to get some sort of plan together so we could have some concrete things to talk about and to have some commitments from people that if this happens, this will happen, or if this happens, this will happen. But certainly within 6 months, we'll have some solid conversations with people who are interested in large lots to move forward. Okay? Keith, you got another one?
Oh, I have two more.
Keep her coming.
Thompson Unlimited.
Yes.
I was quite surprised to see that there's a lot of surplus like that.
Yep.
Is that over a number of years that you created that?
I would say somewhat over a number of years, mostly over the last year and a half, just because of the way that Thompson Unlimited functioned and the way that it shut down. There were funds booked for it, but weren't expended.
And you're, I know you have, you're budgeting for this year. Are you planning on carrying that surplus for a while? Do you actually know what you want to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. In your opinion, is there like a labor shortage here in the city of Thompson amongst employees?
Amongst city employees, we advertise on occasion for positions. We don't normally have an issue in filling unionized positions. We do have issues with hiring professionals where either the expertise isn't here or the qualifications aren't here, and we have to bring in someone from the outside. No, they're different than other larger businesses. But I think from a skilled labor perspective, there hasn't been much of a shortage, but in essence, we're only 140 people in regards to a company. So if we have half a dozen or 15 changeovers in a year, that would be a lot in regards to people retiring or moving on.
Yeah, it's just an observation, I could be wrong.
Well-
But when I look and I see water works repairs being done by a company outside of Delta, and I'm thinking that we have a loss of skilled labor for that type of work in the city of Thompson now, and do you expect that maybe in the future that you're hoping that maybe the valet layoffs can turn into more skilled labor at the city end? Or is it not an issue when I'm talking about the wrong?
No, possibly, but also, I mean, it's a certain skill set in regards to the city of Thompson, basically a care and maintenance organization. From a capital works or a larger project-based projects, that's a specific skill set where it's probably more efficient or cost-effective to hire those that do that every day as opposed to the one-offs.
Yeah, I can see that. And then just a comment, I mean, yeah, 218's coming, and I see the revenue breakdown of the pie, and the grand rule is 19%, and, you know, if you don't, and we can probably rest assured there's not gonna be a big chunk at the end last time, so that's gonna
Absolutely. I mean, from the last two this council and the last council. I mean, I remember, Judy can remember when we were elected at the last council, and Penny as well. We were in office a month, and they announced the closure of the smelter refinery. And luckily, I mean, it got pushed to 215 and got pushed again to 218, which brings this council into play, into making some significant decisions in the next 2 years that will affect this community for years to come. I'm an optimistic guy. This community will be here for years to come.
I'm with you there.
yeah.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Just how I was gonna look at it.
There will be some tough decisions to make, and they'll be not only by the city, by all of us as individuals, as business owners, as residents, tough decisions to make. The only caution I would make and advice I would offer to anybody is don't make an emotional decision. I'll give you an example. I don't know the fellow's name, but in Nepal and Toko, they were announcing the closure of the factory or the mill, and again, this is anecdotal. Like I don't know what ended up being the result, but here's an instance of what can happen. The one individual felt his career was coming to an end. He didn't have a whole lot of options. Had a lot of toys. We all have a lot of toys in this community. Sold his ATV, sold his boat, sold his truck, sold his house. Now somebody else bought Toko. He still has a job. He sold all of that stuff, I'm sure, at a fire sale. He's probably regretting what he did. And some people may have to do that. But at the end of the day, don't make emotional decisions. Take the time to do your homework, find out what your options are, and at the end of the day, some people will leave, and that's fine. It's not fine, but that's the decision they'll make. But some people will make adjustments, and these adjustments have been made since 1956 when they found the ore body. Anybody that's been here any length of time, remember, in 1975, the workforce for Valley was 4,500 people. It's 1,400 and change now. We're still here. Right? So we'll be here long after 2018. We may be different, but we'll be here. And that's what we have to remember. We have to grow our health services. We have to grow our education services. We have to grow being a transportation hub. We have to grow being government services. I know this government wants to pull everybody in, and that means pulling everybody back to Winnipeg. We've gone through that in years past. We need to stand tall and make sure that government services are delivered here in Thompson, not by satellite from Winnipeg. We need people in the desks here. You just have to go through the provincial building and see how many people were there a number of years ago and how many people are there now. We need to maintain and be that large voice, strong voice that say, we need people in the seats here. We need ratepayers here. It doesn't help us to have a government service out of Broadway. They don't pay taxes up here. They don't buy groceries up here. They don't buy gas up here. We need people in the seats here. So that's our lobby. So again, from a community perspective, we'll be here beyond 2018. We'll be different, but we'll be here. Other questions?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions? Second time? So, again, I want to just emphasize, I want to thank everybody. I know everybody's got busy weeks and busy time before Christmas and everybody's hustle bustle, but please spread the word that the surveys are available. Take one tonight with you. They're available will be available online by the end of the week. Drop them off at the VRCC desk or at the City Hall, or mail them in, email them in. We really want to have that feedback so that in January we can, when it gets down to to crunching numbers and putting a budget together, a final budget together, we'll have input, and we hope to be able to relate back as we're putting money here because this is what happened here. We're putting money here because we're not putting money here because this is what was here. So we need that information. Okay? Thanks again for everybody coming out. Appreciate it. That's it.